Well, we're just a few days away from Christmas, and we've had a few absolutely gorgeous mornings actually. Yesterday morning we had the most amazing sunrise, and I just grabbed the camera and dashed out to a local field and took a few images of it. I didn't film it, it was a bit of a mad dash just to get out and take a couple of images, but it was an absolutely beautiful morning, lovely frost, and the sunrise was utterly spectacular. But this morning it's completely different. We've got really thick fog, it's misty, the clouds are low, and I'm actually out here, it's just before sunrise, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I thought I'd pop out this morning just to see if I can get some nice misty images. Some of you might have noticed that we've recently purchased a new camera, so it's also a little bit about just getting used to the new camera as well. We finally bit the bullet and went for the Canon R5. But yeah, we've been building up to that for a little while. But I'm still just getting used to the camera. This is my second time out with it really. So I won't be going into much detail about that. And also we're not really a gear focused channel. I'd rather focus on the photography. But it's absolutely beautiful. There's this lovely kind of blue soft light that's going on at the moment. It's still very dark, which is why it might be a little bit noisy on this camera. But I've actually arrived down here at the woods this morning, and there's a little bit of sadness involved because one of my favourite trees, which I've photographed a few times in recent videos, it looks as though it's been chopped down, unfortunately. Which I'm really quite sad about because it was one of the trees I wanted to come and photograph this morning. And I think that's the thing, it's unfortunately it was a very old oak and it was right next to the path, and I guess there's probably a safety concern with it, so I can understand why they've taken it down, but I'm so pleased that I've managed to take some nice images of it in the past, just as a record. But what I've got set up here is I've got this lovely oak here, and I'm just taking some nice shots in this low light setting. With all the mist, it's very atmospheric. These are going to be very kind of blue, moody, wintry shots. I'm really hoping that before we move house I can come down to these woods and photograph them in snow, because that's the one condition that I've not had yet. And I was hoping there might be a bit of frost this morning, but I think all the frost was yesterday, so we're not going to have frost this morning. But even so, I think this blue light and the mist and the lack of leaves on the trees really helps to sort of give that wintry feel. It's absolutely magical down here. And yeah, just looking forward to taking a few images. So I'm now just pointing the camera towards this young tree, and it's a young tree which I think I've included in wider shots before, where I've had the old tree that's been chopped down in the frame at the same time. This time I'm taking out that tree because it just looks so sad, that old tree with its branches lying on the ground. So I'm just focusing on the young tree now, which I guess is kind of the next generation, as it were. And I think this image works quite well because you've got the young tree next to the trunk of another tree, and then because there's a bit of space in the wood behind it where the path comes up through the woods, you've just got this kind of blue glow to the mist behind it. So I think it's almost kind of quite naturally vignetted, so I think that will work quite nicely as an image. I saw this tree from a distance, I sort of assumed that it had probably been cut down because this wood is managed. But actually, as I've got here, it looks as though it's actually come down naturally. We've had quite a few strong winds around here over the last few weeks, and it is a shame. It's one I photographed quite a few times before. But actually, in a way, I'm kind of pleased that it has come down naturally, because it's just part of the process. It's obviously just come to this point in its life where it's time for it to come down, and it's now going to create a lovely habitat for so many invertebrates and animals. So it's all just part of the life cycle, I guess. Still a little bit sad though. So actually, where this tree has broken away, it's revealed the inside, and it's got all these sort of tubes from the xylem and the phloem from within the tree, those vessels that carry water up through the trunk. They've all been exposed and created these little holes in the wood. And it actually looks really beautiful, and I think this makes for quite an interesting kind of, I guess it's not really abstract, you can kind of tell what it is, but I guess a more intimate kind of image. But for me, I think, because I've sort of got to know this tree, it's also got that kind of personal meaning of it's a tree that I've photographed, and it's died and it's reached the end of its life, and it's just, you know, this is now showing those bare bones from within this tree which I've come to know and love. So actually, I think this is an image which is worth taking. I know it's not to everyone's taste, this kind of intimate image, but for me, yeah, I think this is going to have added meaning, I think. So I think it was actually one of my last videos where I was saying that I've always been slightly reluctant to include the path in my photos of this wood, mainly because I'm not a big fan of having man-made subjects in my images. But actually in the last video I did a few images where I included the path, and I actually thought they turned out okay. And actually I think there's something to be said for including it. It just adds a little bit of a story to some of your images. It's a path where people can imagine where that path might be leading, that type of thing. So I've opted to include it this morning in some images. I've taken some more images of this tree, which again is one which I photographed before. But actually I've had the camera up high, and I think actually probably for this it might be better to have the camera down low, so I'm going to drop the camera down a bit and take an image from a lower perspective, and we'll see if that works any better. I have to say, one of the things that I'm really enjoying about this camera is the EVF, and I'll be the first person to say that I was one of those people who's been dubious about EVFs for a while. I have this thing, I don't like staring at artificial screens, and I guess because I do too much of that at work, and that's when I'm doing photography, the idea of gazing at another screen, I think we've all got too many screens in our life, and so for that reason I've always been a bit dubious about EVFs. But I've got to say, I'm also the kind of photographer who loves to compose inside the viewfinder, and to be able to do everything inside the viewfinder, we've got the focus peaking as well, so you can do all your focusing nicely inside the viewfinder, you can zoom in, you can see your histogram, and you can do everything inside that viewfinder. And I have to say, yeah, I think I'm a convert. So I do of course realise that I come down to these woods an awful lot, and I make a lot of videos down here as well. I guess knowing that I'm going to be moving in a few weeks' time makes me think that it's nice to try and make the most of it whilst we have the conditions here, because this place for me has been a real refuge, particularly over the last couple of years when we've had the pandemic. This place really is very close to my house, and it's been one of the few places I've been able to get out to. It's been a refuge for me, away from work. It's been a place I can come and just forget about the stresses of my job, and I'm going to miss it. So I just want to make sure I've got lots of photographs to remember it by. But this tree here, I think, I've taken a couple of images, but I think it probably needs the longer lens. I'm out at 105mm at the moment, so I might switch over to the 200mm and see if I can get some more close-up shots of these branches. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's always nice getting out at this time of year. It's past autumn, but we're into winter, and the woods just have that kind of wintry, bare feel about them, and when you have misty conditions like we have this morning, I think I can work for some really, really nice seasonal images. I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that before we go we might get some snow down here, because that just is all I need now just to complete my selection of images, I guess my project which I've been making over the last couple of years from these woods. So fingers crossed we might get some snow. But thank you so much for watching. I want to wish you all a very happy new year as well, and we'll see you in the next one.